Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wakeangel2001! Because between you and me, they're way past cool!
Hello my friends, this is Wakeangel2001, and I am coming at you with a figure that I've kind of had partially completed on my workspace for months. As a lot of you may recall when I showed a quick preview of her completed head some time ago. It's Belle the Tinkerer. Now, aside from the fact that I've had this head sitting around for a long time, there's a little special thing. Do you remember back when I got featured in Sonic the Hedgehog Bad Guys number 3, Flex Flex Flex? Well, at the end of the response, there was this little blurb here that there's another character introduced in issue 34 that I might want to try and figurize. So, I took this as a personal challenge. I think this is the closest thing I'm going to get to an actual request from the creators of the comic itself. So, Evan Stanley, Ian Flynn, and all you wonderful guys at IDW, this one's for you. But, before I get to actually showcasing the making of the toy, as usual, I'm going to do a quick backstory of the character, because, oh my god, Belle the Tinkerer, for being a living toy, has an unbelievably tragic history. You know, as far as Sonic characters go. Okay, so Belle the Tinkerer was created by Mr. Tinker. I mean, it was supposed to be pretty obvious in the costume, although it was a revelation in the comic, so sorry if I just spoiled that. But as you may recall, at the beginning of the comic, it's supposed to take place after the end of Sonic Forces, where a case of traumatic amnesia caused Dr. Eggman to forget who he was and live on in a small village under the persona Mr. Tinker, a kind inventor who liked to repair stuff and make toys for the children. So he basically built Belle as like a little robot daughter for himself, and they lived together in peace for some time until Rough and Tumble kidnapped Dr. Eggman to take him to Dr. Starline to get his memory restored. After his memory was restored, Dr. Eggman made it a point to make sure that the first people who took the dose of the metal virus were the ones in the village that he took in. So once the condition was cured, everybody who lived in that village got rid of everything that Mr. Tinker had ever made for them. Partly out of spite, partly because they feared that it might have been booby-trapped. And that included Belle, who they kicked out of the village. Thankfully, that's all they did instead of, destroying her. The poor thing. So, not wanting to believe that her father would actually be such a malevolent being, she went off on a quest to see if she could find him and get answers. She found herself in an abandoned Eggman base where she stumbled into Sonic and Tails when they were trying to find a codex so that they could repair, Omega after he'd gotten torn apart by Zombots. At first, Sonic tried to attack her, but once he realized that she wasn't hostile, they made friends. She lived relatively peacefully among the Resistance and Restoration for some time. After of course going on a mission to confront Dr. Eggman in that crazy world where he was altering the laws of physics and everything. And this is where he found out that this is where she found out that he had created her, but essentially the man who created her was gone. Dr. Eggman, out of a narcissistic respect for his own work, he gave her some answers as to what his motivations were, but he essentially did tell her that the man who created her was gone, and she's just she's the final remnant, the legacy of his delusional state. This, of course, is it's actually really sad. It's basically finding out that not only has your father died, but like it would actually be kind of better if he died, because what actually happened is it turns out that he is actually Hitler. You know, like that's horrible. So, of course, this isn't the end of her trials, as the poor thing found herself kidnapped by Dr. Starline, who opened up the top of her head and analyzed her programming, so he could find out what makes her so loyal and kind. He said that all of that love, affection, etc., is all there in beautiful, replicable code, which we now know that he used to fix Kitsuname's loyalty program for his devotion to Surge. That's a different storyline from Imposter Syndrome, which I'll perhaps get to some other time. But yes, after being taken away from Dr. Starline, Amy Rose decided to take her along with her friends from the Restoration on a camping trip, and although there was a bit of a forest fire, they did end up meeting Motobug, a non-hostile Motobug that they've taken in as a friend, kind of a pet. It was unusual to them that they had found a Motobug that was non-aggressive, as he's just a basic badnik. He's not a sentient robot like Belle or Omega or Metal Sonic. So it's weird that he is able to overcome the hostility programming inherent in most badniks. But in the most recent issue, Sonic the Hedgehog number 49, it was revealed that the reason that the Motobug is so friendly is because it was specifically programmed that way. And when a signal was sent out that was causing all badniks to gather in one location, including Belle and Motobud, she shut him down so that he wouldn't be used for whatever nefarious act the Dr. Eggman had planned, and found inside of his shell a letter written by Mr. Tinker himself. It turns out that in a moment when he was unsupervised by Starline, he reprogrammed this Motobug to act as a messenger and wrote his final letter to his daughter, not knowing if it would ever be received, apologizing for what was about to come, and saying a sorrowful goodbye to the only person that he truly cared about, which. It's just so sad. It's so feelsy, man. So that's where Belle the Tinkerer stands at this point. She is now going to confront whatever this nefarious action is, and hopefully it won't end with her getting destroyed, because I really love this little puppet robot, and I don't want her to get destroyed or hurt any more than she already has been. Alright, so now that that's done, let's actually get to making the toy itself. Okay, so let's get to this. Now, let's start with the head, because that's the thing that I made a long time ago. And I wanted to try something here. Instead of having, Corey Sonic Fan make a custom 3D model of her, I wanted to see if this was something that I could do with just default Sonic parts. So the head is a Forces avatar. Well, like the blank version. I believe it's the rabbit head with no ears. And I was able, and it already has a shape going on. It has the eyes, it has a muzzle, and it's round. So I stuck some toothpicks into the sides of her head in the proper length to be the her little pigtail things, and then I used some wooden beads on those toothpicks to actually make the shape of the hair. The two that are closer to her head, I sculpted a little bit of epoxy around to make them a little bit bigger, so you get that graduated effect that they have, and her bangs, little hat, and her clown nose. And yes, it is a clown nose. It squeaks when you squeeze it. Well, in the comic, yes. Here it's just a little ball of epoxy. I just thought that I'd mention that here. What you get is a nice little approximation of Belle's head. And it's really cool that just from a default blank Sonic head buck, you're able to create this. Because it shows, even though this is an original character made for the comic book, it totally blends into the natural style of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Now this is kind of where it's set for a long time because I couldn't really figure out what I was going to do for the body. Another toy customizer, King3000, made his own Belle the Tinker custom in the Jakks Pacific scale, and because of that he was able to choose some body parts that he was able to make, look really proper with the squared off limbs and all that. But as this figure, by tradition of my custom IDW figures, is done in the Jakks Pacific scale, I really couldn't find anything to work with that, so I ended up just going back with the old Mega Construx figures. Although this is the first time I've used an amalgamated one, well, in this respect. I'm used to just using a straight up Evil Lyn or Dr. Halsey, but here I decided to swap around some parts. The upper body is an Evil Lyn figure, while the legs are Dr. Halsey's, for a combination of features which would be useful for this. I have a couple of customs I'm working on right now, which are also going to use some swapped around parts, but, it all works out the same, because, thank Henry Ford for modular parts. And a little bit of epoxy sculpt to the torso to cover up Evil Lyn's armor look, to create that cute little short alls pattern that she has going on. The cool thing is I didn't actually have to cut away Evil Lyn's collar, like I would usually have to when I used her to make Rouge the Bat, because, Belle has a collar, and it's, you create that cute little green short alls look. The legs, I had to sculpt on a little bit around the hips to be those, the poofy pants look that she has, and, then this is the only part where I can do an homage to these squared off parts. Dr. Halsey's legs are actually just thick enough that, using my Dremel, I was able to shave a square shape into them below the knee. And that's really the only place I could do this. The arms don't have enough material to do it. There really wasn't enough room above her knee to do it. So this is where I was able to make the homage to the squared off limbs. And then this is where more Forces Avatar parts come in. The feet are the basic penny loafers that are in the game. Once I printed them out, all I had to do was cut off the tongue to basically create the look of the shoe that she has in the comic book. I mean, with everything properly painted up and attached, it's amazing how much this just looks like her shoe from the comic book, despite the fact that it's almost straight up the stock Forces Avatar shoe. At least, I don't think the Forces Avatar shoe is available in this color, but, the frame is there. That's kind of cool. Oh, and, I should say that although Corey Sonic Fan didn't make any original models for me, he did rip these models, so, I'm not downplaying Corey's part in helping me make my customs, because, he is still pretty indispensable to my work. I really have no idea how to rip and modify these models myself. Moving on, her hands are also Forces Avatar models, by the way. They are those robot gauntlets that you can give the Avatar. Although all I really had to do was print these out. I didn't even paint them. They're just the native white plastic. I figured that would help with the look. Oh, and in the comic, it said that she's made out of wood, but when they were in the forest fire, her hand got burned, and it revealed that it was metal underneath. I'm not sure if this means that she has a full metal endoskeleton, and her body is, there's a wood veneer on top of it, or perhaps only her hands are metal, because that's where her interchangeable tools are kept. So it's if you were to dismantle her, you would find metal hands, but then the rest of her is indeed carved wood, with electronics going through it. Can you do that? Can you run electronics through carved wood? Because I feel like the heating of the wires might reach the wood's flashpoint or something, wouldn't they? Then again, I suppose if you don't melt plastic, I don't know. Well, she's a robot made of wood. That's what I'm trying to get at. The Evil Lyn head was carved down to just this little cone so that I could stick it inside and still use the ball joint. And her tail is a pipe cleaner that I used a pair of scissors to trim down into, a thinner thing that actually looks more like her tail. This adds the bonus of posability to the tail, which is always a great boon. And, I was gonna go... I think I might have put this when I took this picture, I think I might have had a different sequence of events going on in my head, but we've come to this point, so let's just put her legs on and have a look at the good completed, Belle the Tinkerer figure. So here she is, good old Belle. I can't believe that they would put such an adorable little character design through so much tragedy and pathos, but that just makes us all care that much more for her in the comic book, doesn't it? I mean, there's like the more a character suffers and the more they go through and the more they overcome, the stronger they are, and the more that we in the audience can sympathize and identify with them. So, Belle the Tinkerer, I wish you well, and know that no matter what happens to you in the comic book, you will always have an action figure as part of my personal display. Although I promise from this point forward to keep you nice and far away from my Dr. Starline figure, because I don't want any conflicts up there. So thank you all for watching this video, and this is Wakeangel2001 signing off.